everyone, and welcome to this session on the preconditions and needs to develop digital public services in Africa. And today we have the very good opportunity to hear and learn from the use cases of 3 different African countries: Egypt, Benin, and Botswana. This session is organized by the African Union, European Union D4D Hub project, which is a project that supports African institutions to create enabling environment for inclusive digital transformation. And before I introduce our distinguished speakers and we kick off this session, let's watch a quick video introducing this project.
Digital technologies are creating unlimited opportunities for sustainable and inclusive development in Africa. Jobs, education, healthcare, just to name a few. But ensuring that every person reaps their benefits requires building solid foundations. This is why the African Union, European Union Digital for Development Hub supports African institutions in their path to digital transformation. The project offers technical expertise to countries and regional organizations to develop and operationalize digital transformation plans. Likewise, it coordinates exchanges and knowledge sharing between African and European stakeholders, because learning from each other's good practices contributes to better policymaking. Participation is also key to this process. Through the facilitation of dialogues, the AU-EU D4D Hub supports a meaningful contribution of civil society, private sector, and academia to shaping a digital future. Does this sound interesting? The AU-EU D4D Hub is your entry point to digital cooperation with Europe. Get in touch to collaborate.
So I'm really happy to introduce you now our speakers, His Excellency Engineer Khaled El Attar, who is Egypt's Vice Minister on Digital Transformation, Optimization, and Administrative Development. Welcome. Then we have Mr. Afis Bilaoma, who is the Director of Dematerialization Department from the agency, from the Information Services and Systems Agency of Benin. And last but definitely not least, Ms. Nyala Anwa Pumbati from Botswana, who is the Deputy Manager of e-Services from the Government Online Office. I'm very happy to have you here, and thank you for joining us. To start, Engineer Khaled, can you tell us a bit about the journey that Egypt has had on this digital transformation journey, especially regarding public services, digital public services? What is your experience, and what do you see as the most important aspects to take into account in order to build effective and really good digital public services?
Yeah, basically, the Egyptian experience in digital transformation and digital government services was a bit different, because Egypt has started with information systems since the 80s and 70s. So we found out that we have many systems and many investments. And however, those investments are for, we call it atomic services, for individual government agency services. And this is not what the citizen wants. And we did not know what is the situation. So we decided to start with the databases. So we collected all the databases from the different government agencies, and we started looking at their quality, their integration capacity, their tendency to be governed, and so on and so forth. And once we reached to the point where we have a data set that is capable of providing an end-to-end service, we developed our digital platform, which is digital.gov.eg, in order to provide an end-to-end service. At the same time, we were developing lots of systems So we developed a system for law enforcement, for the criminal court. We developed a system for health insurance. We developed systems for investments. We are developing systems for taxation, social insurance, and so on. So in a nutshell, we decided to have a balanced strategy between exploring to the new vision that I will express tomorrow and present tomorrow, which is Ahmos project, and at the same time to exploit what we have built over the years. Because we have a national registry since year 1998. We have a database for marriage and divorce since actually we have a database now that takes back to till 1890. So we have lots of data about the citizens, but unfragmented, owned by different government agencies. So I think the landscape of having a national data warehouse that actually was used as a purification or cleansing mechanism helped us in providing 130 services in 1 year, and we believe that we can reach around 500 services with 600 government agencies. The Egyptian bureaucracy is big, so we put this all into the equation of the Egyptian experience.
Okay, thank you. But what do you think are the most important aspects or components? What is the thing you most need to target when you start digital transformation?
Okay, so I think it is discussed with many people into this conference and other conferences that digital transformation is never a technology project. Right? Digital transformation is a transformation of a mindset. Digital and government services, which is another misconception, all right? Because I hear in the conferences, lots of people talking about a number of services that are available. It is not the matter of services, it's the matter of the vitality of this service and how close it is with the citizen life. All right? He doesn't care if we are 600 organizations, he cares about his daily life needs. So the idea that we really suffer from, that we have so many services, so many fragmented services, so many unnecessary services. So that's number one aspect. So we are trying to minimize the services. Once I had a discussion with one of the wise men in IT, and he said the best service is no service. All right, so that's where we are actually inspired to reduce the number of services, to make it life-based, to make it event-based, more than that. The second aspect is we usually take this project as a technology project, so we forgot two important things. The first one is the organizational development, because we are working with people that they wake up in the morning and they want to do exactly the same thing. Right? And we are asking them to do something different, right? So basically organization development and dealing with street-level bureaucrat discretionary, dealing with the current discretionary, because we have to understand that digital transformation, it changes the power landscape. It changes the capacity of everybody to work and to act. All right? We have to take this in place. Another thing which is very important is the institutional arrangements, because we have lots of laws and bylaws that really need to be visited, and you cannot do it at once. So the idea is making it service-based, making it when you work on a service, engineer a service, all right, let us look at the institutional arrangements that govern those services. All right, so that's the second point. The third point, for a country like Egypt that holds 110 million people and 1 million kilometers, all right, it's the diverse so this big thing requires lots of things. So for instance, in the law enforcement, I barely finished 7 governorates out of 27, because you have to wire all the courts, you have to wire all the police stations and so on and so forth. So also we embarked in a project where we connect every single government building. And imagine how many buildings do we have? We have 35,000 buildings, all right? We finished around 18,000 so far, and by 2023 we will finish all the buildings. To have an infrastructure for all this and to have the resilience for those infrastructure, So you have so many things to do from a technology point of view, but from actually, we really need to develop the organizations that you work for, because at the end, you are serving an organization that serves the citizen.
Thank you. Thank you. Afiz.
Yes.
I know that Benin took some steps, some very essential steps toward digital public services, towards providing digital public services in 2019 by implementing the data exchange layer on X-Road, and also by implementing the citizen portal for digital services. Can you give us a bit of your experience? What was the situation in Benin before you started this project? And what was the impact of this project and the results? A bit of your experience, please.
Thank you, Elena. Thank you for this question. But first of all, I want to thank you for the opportunity here to share Benin experience here with you. So coming back to your question, I should say that before 2019, there was nothing. There was not a real strategy on the highest level. The digital strategy was built on each ministry. And the more important thing I want to stress here is that all the data was siloed on each system. There was no data exchange between the different systems. And if I want to give you a real example, you need to know that if data has to be exchanged, it was really a duplication of the data. Okay, for example, there is a very a good example I used to take when I talk about that. Before 2019, when people want to create a new company, okay, at the end of the day, the system administrator used to export all the new company created and sending them by USB key to another system who is the court legal system. You know, the court legal is the company who is going to follow all the legal life of the new company you just created. So, as you can see, all the data was siloed, and when they had to be exchanged, it was duplicated and not secure duplicate by email or by USB key. Another point I want to also stress about what we had before 2019 is that we had, at this time, a registry of the population with 90% of all the Beninese inside this registry. But all the platforms, instead of using this registry with the unique ID number of all the persons registered in this registry, they used to create their own authentication system. So you had citizens who want to move to one system to another system who has different login and password. For each system, his own login and password instead of using the registry. So this was before 2019. So what we did concretely. So we work with EGA and Cybernetica, who is a local company here in Estonia, and we act methodically. What we did, we work on 3 important points. The first one is we work on the data exchange. There was a lot of trip between Benin and Estonia, and we used to have the EJ person here in Benin, and they analyzed the situation and the opportunity to create an interoperability system in Benin. So we take some decrees directly signed by the president himself, explaining how data has to be exchanged. And just to tell you that in 2020, we create our own X-Road, which is xroad.bg. And when we did that, the second point we do, which was very important, is that we create a committee named CNI. CNI is the National Interoperability Committee. who gave all the guideline for data exchange in Benin. And when we did that, we put on our X-Road the more important referential, the more important registry on X-Road. I mean the population registry, the company registry, the geographical registry, and the tax registry. And once all of this was done, we create on this an ecosystem who were able to create, using X-Road, some platform and some e-services. It's very important to say that at this time, we used to work with the private system who used to build some e-services on our platform. And for the other things, we built a strategy based on a triptych. The first one was the leadership, I mean the political will. For the political will, there was no problem because, as you may know, our president came here, and when he came back in Benin, he said, you guys are exactly one the same. You have to do exactly the same in Benin. So it was very simple. We had all the leverage from the president to do all of the important things. The second was operational. So we create some building block. I mean authentication block, a data center, a PKI, X-Road, etc., who allow people to create some important system. So what are the key results, as you asked me? The key results are spectacular, I should say. 1 year ago, I read a paper from National Unit Organization who said that in Benin now you can create a company online within 3 hours. And the title was, you can create now a company in Benin within 3 hours like it is in Estonia. So this is a really good achievement we had.
How much did it take before?
I should say before, you had to wait for five days before you create a new company now. So now you can create it worldwide, wherever you are in the world, within 3 hours now. The second point I also can stress as key results is the building permits. The building permits is that what the architect has to do before, he has to go to the town hall up to 5 times before he has a building permit. Now, online, from where he is, he can directly ask for a building permit, and the time spent for having the building permit has divided by 3. Now, you can have a building permit. And the last one I want to also stress, a very good achievement, is the criminal reports. Okay, for the criminal reports, people have to travel to the birth city before they ask for criminal records. So you may understand that if you have a Beninian living in USA, he has to travel to Benin, and when he goes to Benin, he has to travel to his own city, wait for 2 days before he has a criminal report. Now, wherever he is now, he can have the criminal report. So this can be some achievement. Thank you.
Thank you. And Nyala, what about Botswana? And you agree with these previous speakers about what Engineer Khaled said about the digital transformation, and you also share the views of Mr. Afis. What are your experiences? What do you see as the needs from Botswana side and the preconditions to really build a genuinely good, human-centric and effective digital services?
Okay. I thank you, and thank you for having me here. For Botswana as a country, I've picked some similarities from the two countries. As a country, we also have some services that already exist that have been developed, but the services were developed to be used by government, and they were not catering for services to be used by citizens online. So where we are now, we are actually working on a project where we need now to expose services so that our citizens can access the services and be able to apply for services online. From the two countries, we also have similar challenges that they have. Currently, some of the challenges that we have that we are trying to address, there are issues around these existing services or government systems where there are data that already exist that we need to consolidate and have one data that exists for all services. Currently, data exists in different ministries. The same data is requested from citizens time and again as they visit government offices. And currently, citizens, for them to get services, they have to physically visit government services more than once to get these services. So what we are currently working towards is to have a platform that will allow our citizens to log in once and access government services. As is now, we have a few services that are online, and currently our customers have different login access to consume these services. They go to one service, they have to log on a different portal to access the service, and so on. So what we are currently working towards as a project that we are supposed to deliver by the 30th of June is to have a one platform for government that is going to be used to access all government services. We are also working towards having a mobile app that is going to be used by our citizens to access these government services. Some of the challenges that we have experienced as we work towards this project, they've already shared by colleagues, is issues around infrastructure and issues around digital literacy, both for the public service and also for the citizens. It's something that, as a government, currently we are working towards a provision of internet through a project what you call Village Connectivity to our citizens in different parts of the world. We have also issues around government's readiness in the provision of digital services. As colleagues have already shared, we have issues around that. And we also have issues around just change management, just to change the public service for them to be ready to service citizens online or digital services. We have issues around our legislature currently, the laws and the policies that do not fully support a digital government. It's an area that we are also working towards to have laws and policies that can support us in our journey towards digital services. Yeah, thank you.
And actually, there are also some questions already by the audience. We have 3 questions, and I would actually like to ask a follow-up question because you just touched upon it. So, when you're creating digital services, how do you adapt to the lack of internet access and the digital literacy and the literacy barriers? How do you address it?
Oh, thank you. With regards to the internet, fortunately, we have a project that is already running where we are rolling out free internet access in public offices such as clinics, primary schools, secondary schools. That is open to the public to use. So in terms of internet, something that we are currently rolling out, and our target is to have at least 201 of our villages to have access to these services. With regards to the digital literacy, something that we are also working towards. We are actually trying to come up with a framework that could help us to go and to educate our public as well as educate our civil service to be ready to serve our customers online.
Okay, thank you. Another question regarding data, as you were talking a lot about data. So, duplication of data is a big challenge in a lot of countries on the African continent. How can duplication of data be mitigated, and should it be tailor-made to each country, or can it be a copy and paste module? What do you think, Afis?
So your question is about what we had as a transaction on our X-Road, right?
Yes, well, it's more like how can we really, yes, mitigate if we duplicate data? Yes, you mentioned X-Road, but is it something that you should always use the same model, or is it there something you can use, something tailor-made? Do you take into account also like your country perspective? Maybe you want to answer as well. I mean, I see you're very eager.
Because this is actually a very important question. Basically, when we studied the data exchange, we found out that we cannot follow the Estonian model, actually, because we have systems that are running huge number of transactions per day. Yani, let me give you one example of those systems. I have the food subsidy that is actually running 20 million transactions per day, right? 600 million transactions. So if I pass this to any middleware or any, this will be really tough. On the other hand, the exchange between customs and taxation is huge every day because we have shipments every day going to the country and going out of the country. So we decided to go a bit different. We decided to have the crossroad, a sectorial crossroad, and then we have the central crossroad that connects all those crossroads together. So that's the implementation. We implemented it in e-health, we implemented it in e-justice, we implemented it with some services. But you touched another very important point, how the database design would look like. Because actually, from a digital transformation point of view, this is another misconception. It is not about the generation of data. It is not about how you can generate data, but how you can use data. And that's really what we are trying to do now, is to redesign all the databases from the impact point of view, from the outcome point of view, and then the transactions will follow quite easily. So that's another important point. The third point, which is related to your very tough question, is the standardization of the metadata, because I think we need this on a global level. You need to exchange medical data, you need to exchange job data, you need to exchange qualification data. So at one point in time, I believe, as we had it in the banking sector and we had it in the telco, if you move from one operator on another in a country and another country, there is a roaming model. If you want to transfer between banks in different countries, you have SWIFT and you have other means now. So I believe from a government's point of view, the pressure has really mounting in order to build some sort of interoperability on a global level.
Thank you. Coming back to you, Hafiz, we had just a question for you. Thank you for the audience for posting so many questions. That's very good. So the question is, every country has its own peculiarities. How difficult it was to adapt the Estonian solution to your own context?
Yeah. Yes, you're right. We cannot be able to directly adapt to the Estonian solution to our context. That's why I say that there was a lot of trade between Estonia and Benin by the EG person. You know, there is something very important, who is the digital literacy in Benin. You have a lot of persons who don't know how to use a computer. So if this person used to go somewhere to put all the dossier to have a document, and you, from day one to the second day, you say now you need to put everything online, you cannot do it. This is the first point. The second point is that there is no infrastructure everywhere. So what we did is that the first point is that we put the citizen, we made some citizen-centric, because what we have to do is that we create some one-stop shop. There are some, if you don't know, if you do not have internet at home and you don't know how to use a computer in order to have your paper online, you can go to somewhere and you can have people who can help you to ask the online service. This is the first point. But the second point also you also need to understand is that for the agent who used to give you the paper, we also have to train them, because from day one to the second, you say no, you do not have to analyze physically the different paper you want to give people. You have to use a computer. So we use a reference name ICDL, who use to see how literacy you have. using a computer, and we had a score for the different agents from Benin, and from there we reinforce the capacity of this person and we train them in order to be able to use the different back office to deliver paper.
Thank you. Let's talk about future a bit.
Okay.
Nyala, can you share with us what do you foresee in the future? What are your plans in terms of digital public services in Botswana?
Okay, thank you for the questions. Our plans moving forward is, as I've already shared, government has got a lot of data that they are keeping, some of the data that is quite public. And as we move forward, we would want to have open data to allow citizens, researchers to be able to access this data for research purposes or for information. So as we move forward, one area that we would want to have is just to open our data to the public and the citizens as well. Also, as we move forward, we are looking forward to having a brickless government. Our country is quite vast. We have citizens all over, and in some areas that government cannot be physically present there. So we are looking into partnering with the public sector as well as those citizens who are willing to offer these services on behalf of government, for them to offer these services on behalf of government. So moving forward, we don't want our citizens to be traveling to go and get these services. We want them to go to the nearest place within their locality to get this service. Another area as we move forward as well is just to have the public sector playing a bigger role by taking up some of these services that are offered for government for them to offer. Like currently, things like the driver's license, they're being offered by other people in the sector other than the government. So that's what we see as we move forward. Another area is also now, because currently we are just concentrating on government to citizens, also to facilitate around business to business and business to government in terms of digital services.
Thank you. Same question to you, Afis.
Yeah. For the future, we really want to put the citizen in the center of what we are doing. So the first thing we want to do is we want to create an observatory of the quality of e-services we deliver. So in the real time, each time we can see for all the e-service we are delivering, the quality given by the citizen. The second point on which we want to work is that we are making a very big survey in order to know the 150 services the most asked by our citizens. Then we will be sure that at least all this service will be delivered. And the last point also on which we want to work is that we have X-Road now, and machine can talk with machine. And usually when you want to submit for a paper, you need to put some information, your birthday certificate, etc. We want to have all the 10 data we must ask by the agent to the citizen to not be asked anymore. When you submit something, the machine have to talk together and to directly deliver the paper. So, in one word, what we are to do now for the future is we really want to put the citizen inside of what we are doing.
That's great to hear. I'm not going to ask you the same question. I'm actually asking you a question from the audience. So just imagine you would create a digital government from scratch right now. What would it look like? Even all the knowledge, technology, skills, and resources are available. So no limitation.
It's actually, this is our inspiration, let me put it this way, and that's why we decided to revamp all the government applications and government databases, and this is the Ahmos project again. The idea is, at one point in time, you have to go federated. All right? The centralization would work at the beginning, but it will not allow you to scale up or allow you to be resilient. All right? So the idea is how to move from a centralized system to a more federated system with the right governance for that. So that's number one. Number two, you have to hide the organizational structure of your government from your services. All right? And this is a big challenge because you should not build software or should not build applications for a particular agency. This is actually a killer. So how you group them into a platform? This platform is not only for government or for citizen, it's for all participants. You have a delivery service, you have a payment service, you have a translation service, you have an export service, and so on and so forth. So the idea is how to build those platforms, and this is actually the Egyptian strategy is based on a platform concept. All right, we borrowed from Google, from Facebook, and so on. I want every participant to be into this platform in a federated model that really hides the government from an organizational structure for a very important reason. The reason is government job will change, government role will change. So if you put the organizational structure of the government into your software, you are actually creating lots of barriers for your administrative reform. So that's the idea that we are working with from a data, from applications, and from participation. Another point is how to build the system in a very small component-based concept. So others from private sector, from entrepreneurs, from SMEs, and so on, can participate. Digital transformation is everybody's job. So how to build the framework that allows everybody to collaborate.
Very good. We actually have a question that directs to one of these aspects you just mentioned about the SME. So I will ask this question from every one of you just briefly to give a brief answer. So the private sector plays a crucial role in promoting a digital economy, just like you mentioned. And do you have any plans to support SMEs in adopting digital technologies in the day-to-day business activities? Do you have, how do you support SMEs to help you provide digital public services, for example?
Thank you for the question. What we are currently doing as a government with the SMEs, the services that we are developing, because as a government we have adopted a microservices-driven approach, we are actually using our citizens to develop those services. So from a government point of view, we are assisting currently them with providing these jobs for them to develop these services. And in future, would want to develop them in such a way that they are able to export their skills to different countries as we grow as an economy. But other SMEs that are not particularly in the IC sector or in the development sector, would wish them to be able to provide some of these services on behalf of government, and we believe that we will be empowering them. And also our plans toward helping digitization business to business as well. We believe that will be assisting the SMEs as well as the private sector.
Thank you. Afis, same to you.
Yeah, you know, there's something very important for us, is that now we have citizens who used to call us a lot to be able to help them using the e-services. So what we do is that we create a citizen help services, which you can ask 24 hours, 7 days. And this person, they used to help our citizen to, in fact, that they can use our different e-services wherever they are. This is what I can do. This is what I can say about what we are doing with citizens.
Okay. So for Egypt, I think we pay a great attention to the SMEs. We have an organization in Egypt that belongs to the ministry. It's called ITIDA, which is an industry development, whereby we have a number of training, right? But, you know, training and qualification programs is something. On the other hand, we made, for the demand of the digital transformation, which is huge, and I think we all suffer from a lack of supply when it comes to that. We are organizing with multiple multinational players, lots of short courses, 4 months, 6 months, for the job. And part of the success of the program, that the one who developed the user experience and the citizen journeys in digital Egypt is one of the entrepreneurs, one of the SMEs, right? So we help them to grow, we help them by education, by being part of the project. So we made an opportunity, to call it our digital opportunity for SMEs to participate into the digital transformation, and we put a number of people to help them actually put a technical proposition, put the team in place, and so on and so forth. We started with 30 companies. I think the ones who passed, around 6. All right, who are able to work with the government, because we're still a bureaucracy, the payments are not coming in time. So we try to make them resilient in order to have a complete ecosystem that is resilient.
Okay, and maybe just the last question, we have 3 more minutes. When you're developing and designing these digital services, also for all of you, how and do you also engage the citizens in the design process? Because we've heard that you have companies, but what about citizens? Nyala.
Let me say, we do, and actually what we are planning to do is, as we design the services, of course our principle is that our services should be citizen-driven. So whatever services that we should be developing, it should be the need from the citizens, and they should actually be driving or giving us exactly what they want. And what we are also planning to do in future is that before we actually put the services online, the citizens should come on board and test and verify is the service that we're providing what they're saying they need. So it's just one of our principles that our designs are driven by the citizen needs instead of the other way around. So I think that's our involvement with the citizens, as well as just allowing them to test before we can actually put the services to use.
We used to use something named VOC. I mean, VOC is a voice of clients. So we used to launch a lot of voice of clients to hear what our citizens are saying using our e-services. And there is a service in ASI, in my structure, who use to take all this observation of these different citizens to be sure that we can improve all our e-services. That's why, as I said, we can have some e-service like the building permits now. We heard what the architects are saying, and now it's something very important for our architects. And we also used to work with a special population who is all the retired persons. Okay, what we want is that we really want to simplify the life of retired person. So we used to heard what they are saying, the different service public we used to give them, and we used to improve the e-services depending on what the different VOC we receive from them.
Okay, in 1 minute, all right. We had a portal in Port Said where our team visited the city for 2 weeks, working with the citizens in their places. Another thing, we are organizing with GIZ some sort of a design workshop where we have the citizen, the employees, and for the most difficult service, which is notarization service. So we will start with the difficult one. The co-creation and co-innovation is critical for digital service.
That's excellent to hear. Where our time is up nearly, I thank you very much for these insights. I learned a lot. I hope everyone else also learned a lot from you. Thank you. And if you want to reach out to our speakers or other African delegations, just look for the D4D Hub people. We'll point them out to you. Thank you.